Hi everyone, I'm Jay with Aving News, and we are here at Kintex for H2 Meet Everything Hydrogen, and we have an interview with Arnes from H2 Energy News, representing Europe, correct?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Jay. Thanks
Arnes,
for having
tell me about yourself, tell me about your company.
So, I'm a director and the founder of Hydrogen Energy News. We are actually shaping the hydrogen narrative.
Okay.
We're doing that by actually starting important conversations, facilitating these conversations, showing the world what's happening in hydrogen and trying to get it on the top of the agendas, but in a constructive way.
Okay, we'll touch back on the constructive part soon, but first of all, you're everything hydrogen, but you're here in Korea. So why Korea, and what are you thinking of H2 Meet? Is it your first time here? Let's start with that. Is your first time in Korea?
Yeah, first time in Korea. And why everything hydrogen and why in Korea? Actually, because hydrogen is happening everywhere. And it's not fair just to show what's happening in US, in Europe, because you have a lot happening in Korea, and really impressed with what I've seen here.
Okay.
It's amazing, such amount of innovations. It really looks like an established industry here, and I'm amazed.
Okay, so walking around this H2 Meet, seeing the new technology, seeing so many participants here, you really see this as being an area where kind of hydrogen energy is moving forward. You talked about constructive conversation. Let's touch on that really quick. Having constructive conversation around hydrogen, what does that mean to you, and how do we go about doing this?
But we are trying to cut through the noise.
Okay.
You know, there's a lot of PR, there's a lot of this marketing talk, there's, trying to get the governmental money and so on. We're trying to get the case for hydrogen.
Okay.
Like where it needs to go first, where it needs to decarbonize first, how to use it, where to use it, just to skip this unnecessary kind of a fog.
Okay.
And then we are trying to speak with people who really make decisions and who want to solve these problems, because it's not all rainbows and sunshine in hydrogen.
So do you think Korea right now is part of that constructive conversation? Because what I see here is, sure, there's a lot of flash, there's a lot of media, and there's a lot of posters and banners going on and such, but as we talked earlier, you've actually walked around, met a lot of people. Do you see constructive conversation happening here?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I've seen a lot of innovation. I've seen a lot of people just the first day today, and I'm planning to talk to some other officials. And I see that the situation is changing in favor of hydrogen. So basically, we're getting the hype down, and the hydrogen is getting to the places it needs to be.
Okay, so we're getting down the hype, we're boosting up the conversation of where it could actually be a viable energy source. As you've walked around here, is there anything that really kind of caught your eye, or something that you're like, wow, that's really interesting that I've never seen before? Is something unique about H2 Meet this year?
I would say like there's a lot of technology that is scaling.
Okay.
Like there's bigger, there's better, there's more capacity in it, and that's something that's really needed. The safety factor is really important, and it's being addressed. And a lifetime of these devices is pretty standard, let's say. It's not like 100 years, but it has a standard. It will last you for 15, 20 years, and these kinds of things, that is actually what technology is doing in a development. So it takes a bit of a time, but when you have a market, it happens.
Right, so hydrogen, as far as I know, and I'm no expert, so correct me if I'm wrong, the idea of hydrogen technology has actually been around for a long time. The implementation, the safety standards, other standardizations, getting it transported, getting infrastructure, this is what's really happening now, and why hydrogen is becoming a viable energy source. Can I say that?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, it's happening, and it's not happening, because the hype is trying to get the hydrogen in a certain fields that it's still too early, at least. In some cases, probably not possible. But if we address the places where we need it, where it's already being used, and we need to decarbonize it, then we will create a market and a case for clean hydrogen, green hydrogen, natural hydrogen. And when we have that, we will have mature technology that we could probably scale to other markets.
Where do you think hydrogen then is most applicable to start with? You've used the word scalable a lot. Where do you think is the starting point for hydrogen, and why hydrogen?
Say industries that are already using it, fertilizer industry, in cases of steel production, there's a high demand of hydrogen. So basically, these are the heavy industries that need a lot of hydrogen.
Okay, so starting at why hydrogen? Compared with, I mean, you talked about noise before, and I feel like as a general public, everything is EV, 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 EV. Electric cars this, electric this, yet I was walking around earlier and I saw hydrogen-powered drones. So why hydrogen? What's the advantage behind this technology?
You can basically refuel faster, you can have a bigger capacity, you can have a bit different specs in terms of usage, in terms of practice. But again, if you cannot electrify it, or if it's not feasible, or hydrogen gives you a better solution, absolutely do so.
So you see hydrogen being a viable source, first starting in the areas that's already being used, like steel production stuff, and then scaling up and becoming to a wider and broader, not only audience, but also industry in general. You're here in Korea, you're representing Europe, your news company. How do we globally scale this? Do you think I was in another interview and they were talking about safety and regulations. You mentioned safety as well. So is it the responsibility of each country to do their own part and come together? Do you see Korea as the one who's kind of pushing forward? How do we get this technology to go globally?
I see Korea as somebody who's really pushing forward.
Okay.
In a global sense, there needs to be cooperation, like international cooperation on standards, on regulations,
Yes.
on technology. So basically, what I would like to see is more people from Europe and US coming here and more people from Korea going over there. That's really important. What actually might be missing, say, in Korea, I've visited quite a lot of booths today, and not everybody could talk to me in English.
Right.
You know, like such things.
Sure.
So basically, if you want to have a cooperation, you need to reach out. And for this market, it will be crucial that there is a connection and that there is cooperation.
And sure, and I think, the push is for a more sustainable green future. So you mentioned the language barrier thing, which of course every country you go to, it's not, you can't always expect them to speak your own language, but you're bilingual. I also speak Korean as well. So I feel like if I'm here, I'm gonna speak the language. If I want to be in a market that's global, then I need to speak a global language. However, I also think this is thankfully where AI technology can come in and start to help as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So all these technologies that are happening now, green energy, AI, different technologies can come together and hopefully push this and the narrative forward faster, correct?
Yeah, for sure. And also you need to weed out, the hype part. You need to weed out the PR part. So basically doing your marketing in a bit more a realistic way, constructive way, and really wanting to raise awareness of hydrogen, of the industry, and what's happening. One of the, I think, most important things I wanted to do in my career is make industry interesting.
Okay.
Make it fun.
Sure.
Because really it is fun, but you can look at the whole world of marketers. They're never going to watch at the industry because they consider it boring.
Right. So we want to make it more fun. Green energy, the idea of even for me seeing a hydrogen-powered drone was kind of fun. And I'm thinking, why? Why not just plug it in like electric? But as you mentioned, hydrogen allows for more quicker refuel. Electric is charging, hydrogen refueling, but it's a longer range. And
Potentially.
I think potentially, right? Yeah. Potentially. Going abroad with hydrogen and getting this to expand, there are so many advantages, but you also mentioned the hype and some disadvantages. What do you think are some of the hurdles or problems we need to overcome so that hydrogen can become readily available?
Yeah, for sure, you have this discussion, chicken and an egg, but I don't think that's actually even discussion. If we start with the places where it's needed, we already have a market.
Okay.
And then expand from there. And then the other one, hydrogen has its own problems of embrittlement, storage, transport. It's really hard to transport hydrogen. Yeah. So basically, you need to produce it where you use it, potentially. So these are the things and potentially technologies that will come and solve these problems.
Okay, so obviously transportation being a big problem, we want to be able to produce hydrogen domestically to cut out the transportation, like long transportation, long routes of transportation. You talk about making it fun. I love education myself. As a reporter, I like going and learning about all these new technologies and things that are happening in the world. The world is really, and I'm not overhyping this part, I think the world is changing very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very quickly. I did this exhibition last year and I'm seeing more new technology and more things happening now. You're a news organization spreading information about the hydrogen industry. How do you think we can get this information to the general public, or whether it be companies that need this, in a more fun and accessible way? Because it's no longer about just publishing textbooks, right? Like there's social media now.
Yeah.
What's your vision? How does your company go about doing this?
It will probably sound a bit plastic, but you need like a passion for it.
Sure.
Like a passion
Absolutely.
for
100%.
for expression.
Yes.
You don't have to be passionate about hydrogen, let's be honest.
Right.
But you have to have a passion for expression, expressing things, showing things in a different way.
Okay.
So approaching things in a different way and getting to the gist of the problem. It's not worth it if you're just sharing PR. Like talk directly. Yeah, don't fluff people.
Right. Okay, so now you're here in Korea, you said it's your first time here. After coming here, it's kind of a wrap-up question, but after coming here, what's your next step in moving, either with your business or helping to move the hydrogen energy industry forward?
Yeah.
What's step number 2 after this?
You see, we have this huge following, like we have this huge reader base and a lot of people on our newsletter, social media and so on. And we're going to start a huge project in terms of hydrogen community.
Okay.
We want to actually start this conversation on a higher level, on a more like having more people interacting without us having to be there.
Okay.
Like getting you the chance to reach out to important people, to decision makers, to people who are inventing things, say peer-to-peer communication.
Okay.
So having this conversations, having this constructive communication, we want to actually strengthen the industry.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think conversation is such a big part of it. As you said, the fluff is one thing and just show.
Yeah.
But it's not just about listening or it's not just about saying, it's the whole conversation in general that's going to get this moving forward.
Exactly.
Before we wrap up our interview, is there anything else you would like to add?
I'm enjoying Korea. I would like to call everybody, let's say in Europe and US, come to Korea.
There you
for
go.
sure, like see this industry, see these innovations. It's really incredible.
And that's one of the things that a lot of people have said during our interviews. They work within this industry and they come here to Korea and they're like, wow, it's really happening. H2Meet is huge. There's a lot to see, but there's a huge international presence as well. It's not about one country moving this forward. It's about everybody working together and getting the conversation going.
Here, you really have a feeling it's really happening, guys. So come here and see it. Like you can see from the truck to the valve, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Arnes with the H2 Energy News, thank you so much for spending time with us. Really appreciate it.